Hello, Buddhas. Today we are going to be talking about what it actually means to be triggered. Now, Buddhas, before I get started, I've got a link down in the doodly-doo to a brand new course fresh off the presses that you can check out to have a spiritual awakening. Now, what do I mean by triggered? Well, here's an example from my real life that I'm not super proud of, but it's an excellent explanation. Yesterday, I was driving my car and I hit a post with it. Now, I was not driving fast and it wasn't like a head-on collision, I just kind of scraped the side, but boy, oh boy, did that trigger the hell out of me because I am a very good driver. I don't screw up like that very often, and honestly, I have no idea how I did this. I was trying to get into a tight parking spot, concrete post meets side of car, things happen. Now, when I got out of the car and looked at it and I saw it, I was so mad, but mad at myself, that I actually ended up just like taking my hand and like hitting myself on the head repeatedly until I realized that that hurt and I stopped because that was silly. But this is an example to myself, and maybe there's something you can relate to, of being triggered and reacting in a way where you're no longer really consciously in control of your actions. Now, in this case, I didn't really do anything all that terrible to begin with, and the result wasn't all that terrible either, of myself just knocking myself in the head a little bit, being like, whoa, why are you doing that? Stop. But I felt so much negativity, and I felt so like anxious and scared and upset, and all of this flood of absolute negative bullshit came into my world. And I thought to myself, whoa, why? I scraped the car, okay, but why am I now scraping myself? Why am I feeling like, honestly, this urge to cause physical pain to oneself? Where is that coming from? Why do I need to punish myself for this? And it worked up a lot of kind of like submerged emotions that I've been not really dealing with, not really acknowledging how upset I have been in the past about certain things, and it really brought a lot of that to the surface in a very quick, very kind of like conceited way. And I realized it's like, okay, no, I have to sit with this for a minute. So I actually sat down and I meditated for about a half hour afterwards, and it wasn't a great meditation, but I was taking that effort, that time, that intention to try and just come to peace, come to terms with what had happened. Now, it also doesn't help that I was going to a party afterwards and wasn't in the greatest moods, and to be honest, I didn't really want to go, but I had decided that I was going to go because I wanted to see my friends. And I was in this weird state of mind the entire night because of the incident that had happened. Now, it's the day after and I'm making this video, and I've already called to make arrangements to have this repaired, and I've already taken action in the 3D world to move this forward. But what's most interesting is this feeling inside of me where I don't feel negative about it anymore. I've allowed that momentum to cease. Yes, I had a negative situation happen. It's gonna happen to everyone. I'm not wanting it to happen to anyone ever, but negative things do happen. We make mistakes as human beings. It's kind of part of the fun of being in this reality. And what I learned here is how I react in wanting to hurt myself, in wanting to punish myself for making a mistake. Honestly, just a silly error in judgment, a mistake. And there's no real reason other than that reactive, what if you want to call it, a carnal, a primal mind, an ego mind, whatever terminology you think works, go ahead and call it that. But to me, it was like this built-in, innate, I am now a failure and essentially worthy of nothing, was the immediate thought pattern that popped into my head. And this is so, I don't want to use the word important, but it kind of feels like that. It's not whether or not you react. That's what I'm starting to realize. It's not about the reaction, because it's going to happen, you're going to react. Now, please don't hurt anybody in this cause, and don't cause physical pain to yourself either, of course. But you're going to react to things that happen in the world. That's a fact. That's how it works. Nobody is perfect. But coming to terms with that reaction and recognizing it within yourself, and where did that come from, what's going on, what are you going to do next about it, and forgiving yourself. I've already forgiven myself for this, which in my pattern of existing as this human being of Alex, forgiving myself within literally less than 12 hours is very impressive. Less than 24 hours? I don't know exact time frames here. But it's been that journey. And I know for a fact that if I hadn't been on this journey for the last 2 years, that I wouldn't have had this, call it a mature reaction. I wouldn't have had this awareness. Am I saying that my initial reaction was mature? No, not in any way whatsoever. But the understanding that I'm now starting to have and to feel, and to the love that I'm able to express for myself, and this next level of knowing, and the fact that something negative happened, sure, but now I get to make a video about it, to share it with you Buddhas, in order to continue that conversation, to continue the understanding of, yes, we react. Shit happens in this world. It's not your fault. You have to be able to get to a point where you can recognize that, forgive yourself, and take the action to start remedying it, take the action to move forward. Where people seem to get stuck, in my observation, and this could be my own biased opinion, but if something happens and they react, and then they allow that to eat away at them forever. So if I were to allow this situation with the car to eat away at my self-esteem and say, oh, I'm not worthy and I just damaged something, and all this, if I'm allowing those negative thoughts to permeate my reality consistently after this, then it's like I'm scratching the car every 5 minutes. I'm constantly coming in and hurting my own self-esteem. So what I'm learning here, Buddhas, and I think the real takeaway from this video, is that shit happens, you're gonna react, but how long are you gonna let that reaction control your world, right? And how severe is that reaction gonna be? For me, it wasn't really that severe, and I didn't let it control me for more than a few minutes, maybe an hour at most, but I was able to handle it, move on, and just kind of like get through that. Now, does that mean that I'm now perfect and will never react to anything ever again? Hell no! I plan on reacting to things a lot, because that's how it works. That's what happens. Reactions are a fact of life. But do I now have one little extra tool in my toolbox and one little example of understanding how I feel? Yes, I do. And I think that that is actually a beautiful lesson. It's the blessing in disguise of having something silly like this happen. Well, now I can actually talk about it. I can understand how I reacted and felt to it. And I doubt that something like this exact situation would ever happen again, because I'm so much more aware. And really, nothing gets me going more than the idea that I can increase my awareness of what is happening. So Buddhas, let me know down below if you recognize yourself reacting to anything, and hit that link up in the video description for a course. And remember, at the end of the day, Buddhas, the most important thing, other than liking and subscribing, is to love yourself.